5 miles, Angel 6.
Roger, that's the only one I've got right there where the pointer is.
Hello there, and welcome back to the DCS SITREP, where we discuss news and information about DCS World. I'm your host, Prickly Hedgehog, and we look back at last week's newsletter from Eagle Dynamics, which centered on the Sinai Map, and a couple of points to note. It appears that the Sinai is getting pretty close to release. I talked a little bit to the developer recently, who is pretty busy wrapping up final touches to the map, something confirmed by this latest news release from ED. Now, they also mentioned that Buddy Spike is going to offer blue flag scenarios that will include live statistics and an online live map, which will feature historically accurate locations that were used by military personnel during the different wars in the Sinai region. There's a list of upcoming scenarios that they plan to host, starting way back in 1956, the Suez Crisis, Operation Kadesh, which was mainly between Egypt and Israel in northern Sinai Peninsula. This blue flag scenario will include various air operations and ground warfare in the famous areas of this war. Each coalition will be able to push through Sinai to occupy all the objectives and get control of the peninsula. They also have the 1967-1973 conflict, starting from the Six-Day War, from 1967 through to the War of Attrition, 1967 to 1970, and finally to the Yom Kippur War of 1973, which will encompass the entire Sinai Peninsula. So this blue flag scenario will include more modern air and ground, as well as naval operations of the 1970s. It will incorporate current DCS modules and will also be ready for upcoming modules simulating the war in all of the peninsula and the famous push points and standoffs between the Egyptian and Israeli armies and air force. No news there on any of the Syrian forces in the area, which probably encompasses parts of the Syrian map more than the current one we have for Sinai. Along with the above historical scenarios, Buddy Spike is planning two other impressive theoretical scenarios in the Sinai map. The semi-active homing radar scenario that includes Fox 1 capabilities and weapon availability of the era, as well as a modern scenario that will include all modern weaponry and ammunition. So some interesting concepts going on there. This map, I must say, is probably my favorite right now. So let's take a little look at some of the notes here from ED. So it is, as I said, upcoming for early access launch on the heels of the successfully launched channel map, which was released a few weeks ago. The team have received a lot of positive feedback and comments since the last reviews, and the team wish to thank all of us who commented and provided valuable information and criticism about the map. And this helps, obviously, the developers tweak and fix and improve the development of the maps. Now, there are some unique scenes that have been improved and many bugs have also been fixed. The destruction models are in the final stages of development apparently, and many improvements, including the Great Pyramids of Giza, have already been implemented, along with many other scenes, airfield details and textures. The developer did remind me that not all of the pyramids are complete just yet. Stand by for that. But what I have seen over the original release, or the early access release that I got, was pretty impressive. They've now added more moving trains, greater variety of vegetation and birds in port areas, and several models of tankers are already in the works that will complement the realism of port scenes, which I'm really looking forward to seeing. The early access launch will also feature 6 new airfields. These are El Arish, Al Gora, Raluza, and these are on the north of the Sinai Peninsula. We also have Bir Hassana in the middle, and St. Catherine and Abu Rudais to the south. And apologies for the butcherization of the pronunciation there. So these locations will allow the recreation of realistic scenarios of the missions of the Arab-Israeli wars, which I know a lot of you are looking forward to. According to the quote here, The team is working hard on a tool that allows you to procedurally get textures that are already used on the DCS Sinai Map. Furthermore, we have improved the tools that allow us to obtain height maps at a more accurate resolution of 1 meter per pixel, where the original resolution was 38 meters per pixel. This allows you to get textures as well as a surface mesh with a higher density using the Eagle Dynamics TDK tool. This can be used to build unique places and mountains. For example, you can make sand dunes in the desert not only in the texture but also procedurally generate a surface mesh. We've included some examples, they say, in the development shots. Now, this is something I haven't seen before from other map developers, I don't believe, so I'm very curious to see what this means for the future of maps in DCS and, of course, the final iteration of the map in early access guise, of course. So I will leave you with some pictures here of this map towards the end of the video, and some scenery that I've been flying over, just making some comparisons from my earlier videos where the map was in a slightly different status than what it is right now, and what I've seen obviously impresses me. It's a very, very exciting map. Now, in news not covered by ED's newsletter this week, or this past week at least, was information about Heatblur's AI A6E. According to the team on Facebook, this is coming this summer to the game, and they're excited to make this a part of the DCS world as the early stages of development for the flyable DCS A6E continues. This will be the benefactor of many technologies built for the F4E, such as their next generation radar simulation, as well as Jester version 2. It's the reborn version of Jester. Remember, that is being implemented for the F4E, and we're also going to get wear and tear and much more. So once the Phantom is released, they say, then you'll get a little bit more information about what all that kind of stuff means, and we'll be able to see it in action. Development of the A6E will proceed in parallel while they finish and launch the DCS Eurofighter, which precedes it in their development roadmap. It's going to be shoulder to shoulder. So in other words, they're going to continue working on both of those modules at the same time. The Eurofighter will come out ahead of the A6. That is a joint project between True Grit, and Heatblur. Remember the team, I think it was the year before last, the two teams joined resources in order to get that project better supported from the True Grit team, who did not have really any DCS experience, whereas Heatblur did, and this is not the first time this kind of, what you call it, cooperation, if you like, has happened. And certainly Heatblur indicated at the time that they're open to working with other developers as well, maybe minor studios, to assist them in any way to make joint projects and get some interesting aircraft in the game that may otherwise not see the light of day, or may languish a long time in development because people are trying to reinvent the wheel. So I think that's really cool. Obviously this is a fan favorite, and certainly my favorite aircraft. It's an interesting little aircraft, and it obviously has quite a big payload. It's a subsonic aircraft, and I'm looking forward to seeing the AI version in the game and what it looks like, and then naturally really looking forward to seeing them produce the final product and release that into the game. Obviously we don't know how far down the line the project is and exactly when there will be a release date. I don't expect to see anything in 2024. I imagine 2024 could be the Eurofighter, and 2025 is likely to be this particular aircraft. Again, these are very broad guesses, and I have no inside information, but I'm looking forward to it nonetheless. So let me know what you think in the comments section below. Now, the last bit of news, which really isn't DCS related, but nonetheless significant in terms of flight sim in general. And that was the news that Mircropose has returned to the Falcon 4 series by acquiring the copyright to the Falcon series game, and Falcon therefore has officially returned to the Mircropose lineup. I almost said Microsoft, that's not correct, Mircropose. So Mircropose basically sent out an email to various influencers, including myself, and and they advised us that they are thrilled to continue the Falcon franchise with new products in the future, building on the legacy of this iconic series. They also paid homage to Benchmark Sims, who have done incredible work with the BMS mod for Falcon 4, and they acknowledge and recognize the passion and dedication that BMS has brought to the Falcon community and is committed to fully supporting their efforts in any way possible. With Mircropose's support, there is no end in sight for the work of the BMS team, so the future of the Falcon franchise looks bright, and they can't wait to share more information with us soon. So what does this mean? Why am I talking about this when it's a DCS focused show? Well, a lot of people were very interested in this, and I think because of the love for the DCS Viper, there have naturally been a lot of comparisons to the BMS fan favorite and that community who have kept that franchise alive well beyond its shelf life, effectively. And because of the amount of work that's gone into it, that particular sim has been the benchmark for all F-16 simulations in any flight simulator around. Indeed, a lot of people make criticisms, if you like, or comparisons in a way to say, hey, you know, these are the things that we have in BMS, these are the theaters of operation. One of the biggest complaints I get from people is the fact that Falcon BMS and the Falcon 4 franchise had a dynamic campaign, something which is missing obviously from Eagle Dynamics stable right now, although they are, in fairness, working on that, and they have said that it is a pretty major undertaking, in part because there's a lot of scripting that has to go on to record AI generated airfield comms and AI comms for the aircraft, and getting the AI to behave in a way that supports a realistic looking dynamic campaign. And a lot of people again will come back at them and say, well, Falcon 4 did this 20 years ago. What's taking you guys so long? And yeah, I mean, it's a different platform. It's a proprietary platform, and I don't know enough about the way ED does business and the way that they have developed that campaign to make direct comparisons and decode what all that means and why that is such a struggle. But it is definitely something that ED is well aware of that they need. And certainly the Falcon 4 campaign is one to watch as a benchmark. So I haven't played, I used to play the Allied Force version of this, and that was a pretty cool campaign set in the Italian and Mediterranean, if you like, theater into Eastern Europe, and provided some interesting challenges. So I'm very interested to see how the game that BMS has been working on for such a long time now becomes a new product. Some people have been saying Falcon 5 would be the next, I guess, iteration of the game. What that looks like, how it compares to DCS. Will it have the campaigns? Will it have all the new eye candy that we expect from modern flight sims? So on and so forth. So it's a really interesting time in combat flight sim, because really DCS and Eagle Dynamics have the marketplace cornered effectively for combat flight simulation. Outside of this old product that just kind of loitered in its own little area with a very, very strong community base and a very, very passionate community supporting that particular product. And it's very, very interesting to see it rise again. And people have been asking for other Mircropose products to come back with older gamers sharing sort of nostalgia for these older products. And of course, yeah, it is an older product, but again, we're looking forward to seeing the new rendition, the new interpretation of Falcon 4. Let's call it Falcon 5, just for argument's sake, and what that will manifest itself like in an actual modern era of graphics and gaming with Mircropose's support. I think it's cool. I think competition is obviously good, and certainly it will be potentially a detractor for Eagle Dynamics, for certain core fans who are passionate about the Viper. So yeah, if they produce a good dynamic campaign that goes with, then that would also be an attractive prospect for a lot of solo players looking for replayability. So yeah, it's a little bit of a, you know, shot across the bows for Eagle Dynamics in terms of, hey, we're here and we've got this this potential for a very interesting product that will present itself a little bit as a competitor for a platform in Eagle Dynamics' DCS world. Of course, it's early days. We don't know exactly what's going to manifest. We don't know, you know, how good the product is going to be and all the rest of it. So there's a lot of unanswered questions at this point. We don't know how long it's going to take for them to come out with a new version, or what version it's going to be, etc., etc., etc. So there's tons of unanswered questions. We can only speculate really how much of an influence it's going to be, or if it will be at all. But again, any kind of competition, I think, is healthy for the combat flight sim environment, which is a fairly niche market still in the broader gaming world. And a lot of people love still Microsoft Flight Simulator and flying around transport planes or passenger planes with, you know, salubrious looking backgrounds and environments to fly in. And Eagle Dynamics has certainly picked up its game in this arena as well, and we now have combat transport aircraft coming into the game, such as the Chinook, the C-130. So the competition, I think, that we're seeing is only going to be healthy for Eagle Dynamics, as long as they can keep pace and as long as they can still meet customer demand. And it raises, again, like I said, a lot of interesting questions. So let me know what you think in the comments section below about any of the topics today. As I said, I'm really looking forward to the Sinai Map. I'm looking forward to the A6, naturally looking forward to the Eurofighter, and of course, we are hoping around the corner here, we will have the F-15E from Razbam and that mighty looking F-4 Phantom from Heatblur Simulations. Things are looking pretty good, I must say, once these things get released. So stay tuned for more news and information. This is Prickly Hedgehog, out for another week. Thanks for liking and subscribing as we chug closer to 10,000 subscribers, which will lead to some form of giveaway once we hit that milestone. That'll do for this week. We'll see you next week. See ya!